ongoing legacy projects awarded by past and present administration. End of quote. A motion for approval of the loan was moved by the Majority Leader Ferguson Onwo and seconded by Chief Whip Mrs. Pat Ajundwa. The motion was unanimously adopted by the Assembly when put to a voice note. Away from that, Enugu State came the report that the former Deputy President of the State, Senate rather, and frontline governorship aspirant in Enugu State, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, has called on the leadership of the People's Democratic Party and the state to ensure a transparent and credible process in the run-up to 2023 general election. Ekweremadu said such was critical in ensuring that the most popular candidate emerged from the process. He made the call in Enugu on Tuesday during a consultative section with the leadership of the Enugu State PDP. He noted the decision made by delegates in electing candidates would not only be massive input on the party's fortune at the general election, but also quality of governance after the election. Still talking politics right here, the Oyo State chapter of the People's Democratic Party has advised candidates contesting for the various elective positions to come with regional copies of their credentials. The call was made in an announcement via a statement signed by the Secretary of the party, Alhaji Wasiu Adeleke, on Tuesday evening. The party said that the screening was compulsory as parent viewing for the National Assembly and House of Assembly seats. Osun State has 3 senatorial districts charters with respect to completion of some critical ongoing legacy projects awarded by past and present administration. End of quote. A motion for approval of the loan was moved by the Majority Leader Ferguson Onwo and seconded by Chief Whip Mrs. Pat Ajundwa. The motion was unanimously adopted by the Assembly when put to a voice note. Away from that, Enugu State came the report that the former Deputy President of the State, Senate rather, and frontline governorship aspirant in Enugu State, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, has called on the leadership of the People's Democratic Party and the state to ensure a transparent and credible process in the run-up to 2023 general election. Ekweremadu said such was critical in ensuring that the most popular candidate emerged from the process. He made the call in Enugu on Tuesday during a consultative section with the leadership of the Enugu State PDP. He noted the decision made by delegates in electing candidates would not only be massive input on the party's fortune at the general election, but also quality of governance after the election. Still talking politics right here, the Oyo State chapter of the People's Democratic Party has advised candidates contesting for the various elective positions to come with regional copies of their credentials. The call was made in an announcement via a statement signed by the Secretary of the party, Alhaji Wasiu Adeleke, on Tuesday evening. The party said that the screening was compulsory as parent viewing for the National Assembly and House of Assembly seats. Osun State has 3 senatorial districts, 14 House of Representative seats, and 32 State of Assembly, 32 seats. In other stories, the Speaker of Osun State House of Assembly, Timothy Owe, has disclosed that adopting an e-parliament methodology would serve as a bridge that will link the people of the state with their representative in the House of Assembly. And that is known on Tuesday in Osogbo at the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Osun State House of Assembly and the Impact Development Initiative, disclosing that the objective of the 7th Assembly is to bequeath a better legislature. We affirm that e-parliament was very necessary in modern-day legislation, stating that e-parliament is considered to be engine room for other components of legislative agenda, as it will enhance parliamentary transparency, accessibility, and accountability. You're still watching OneTV News. We're going on a very short break. We'll be right back for more news stories, to stay with us. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is OneTV Global News. And now to more news stories. President Muhammadu Buhari has called on all political parties in the country to keep elections and election-related differences aside and join his administration drives to defeat insecurity in the country. He made this known at Ifata dinner with members of the president's community and the leadership of the political parties in Abuja on Tuesday, described insecurity as a common enemy bedeviling the country. In his words, quote, "Without mass popular support or our hard-working armed forces, it will take us much longer to finish off a successful war we're waging against terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping. A country must be kept safe for progress and prosperity to be entrenched." In his remarks, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, the national chairman of the APC, urged leaders of the political parties to make firm commitment towards peaceful and successful 2023 general elections. The Vice President in 2023 presidential aspirant Yemi Osinbajo has declared that he holds no one any allegiance with regards to his presidential aspirations. Osinbajo insisted that his only allegiance lies with his oath of office and the allegiance he swore to Nigerians when he came into office in 2015. He made this known during his political consultations in Ogun State on Tuesday, where he addressed his followers, adding that after all he has learned in office, he could not ignore courage to serve the nation in higher capacity. The Vice President was responding to claims of betraying his alleged godfather and former principal, Bola Tinubu, by declaring for the presidency when the former Lagos State Governor is also contesting for same office. Take history to Kogi State, where Yaya Bello, the governor of the state, became the first all-progressive Congress aspirant to purchase his expression of interest and nomination forms to contest the 2023 presidential election with a payment of 100 million naira on Tuesday. This was confirmed in a statement issued by Director, Media and Publicity of the Yaya Bello Presidential Campaign Organization, Mrs. Kemi Kolakbo, in Abuja. Kolakbo was optimistic that Abdullahi Adamu led APC National Working Committee would put the interests of the party and that of Nigerian force in its activities for the emergence of the party's 2023 presidential candidates. The opposition People's Democratic Party said on Tuesday that all those who had purchased the presidential forms were free to contest its presidential ticket regardless of zones. The National Publicity Secretary of PDP, Mr. Degbo Lubongbar, said this during a chat with newsmen. The PDP spokesman said the National Executive Committee of the party, which would meet on Wednesday next week, was set aside the party's Senate committee report, which recommended that the presidential ticket should be sown. In his reaction, Mr. Valentin Obiayen, a media aide of a former Anambra State Governor and PDP presidential hopeful, Mr. Peter Obi, said although the party's decision remains supreme, it would be an injustice if the Southeast was denied the presidential ticket for 2023 presidential election. To recall that the Governor Autumn-led committee set up by the party had listed about 3 recommendations, which included zoning the presidency to the south or throwing it open, while there was also an option for it to be zoned to the north. Still looking at election stories, less than a week after People's Democratic Party Northern Consensus candidate arrangement failed, Secretary of State Governor Aminu Tambo on Tuesday held a secret meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. The meeting, which the governor described as a private meeting, however, sparked insinuations over possible plot by Tambo to dump the PDP for the second time. Tambo is one of the contenders for the PDP presidential ticket for the next year's election, had lost out in consensus arrangement which saw Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State and former Senate President Bukola Saraki emerge winners of the controversial selection process, midwifed by the chairman of the Northern Elders Forum, Prof. Ango Abdullahi. Besides Tamboa, other PDP presidential aspirants involved in a controversial consensus arrangement are Bala Mohammed Saraki and former managing director of FSB International Bank, Mohammed Ayatuddin. Stay OneTV Network Global News. We're going on a short break. We'll be right back after that, so stay with us.
Done so much for me, I cannot tell it all. And your love is forever, yeah. And your love is forever. And your love is
So this is OneTV Network Global News. Many thanks for joining. And now to more news stories. While the controversy of zoning the presidency not continues, Northern youth organizations under the umbrella of a Reva Youth Consultative Forum on Tuesday warned that both the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party not to zone the presidency ahead of the 2023 polls. Speaking with John Leeson Kaduna, AYCF President Yorima Shitima says the forum will mobilize against any political party that zones the presidency to any geopolitical zone. The AYCF, while describing zoning as undemocratic and unconstitutional, said all presidential aspirants must contest their popularity at the party primaries and the general elections, adding that those canvassing for zoning are lazy politicians. Away from that, a frontline presidential aspirant on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, Mazi Sam Ohabuwar, has said that he will fight to a standstill for demons that have been milking Nigeria dry. He maintained that this was possible and achievable because he possesses the necessary experience and poise to salvage the country in these trying times. Ohabuwar's strategies are the just concluded Greater Nigeria Conference in Abuja. The listed 4 demons affecting the Nigerian system as poverty, corruption, injustice, and insecurity, say that the absence of the right leadership was responsible for the nation's current economic and security quagmire. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, his predecessor, Professor Teru Jagar, and the Inter-Party Advisory Council on Tuesday insisted on the establishment of a National Electoral Offences Commission to tackle impunity in the nation's electoral process. Speaking in Abuja during a roundtable discussion with the theme Electoral Offences in Nigeria, Ensuring Documentation and Effective Prosecution, organized by the Electoral Hub, the 3 men stressed the need for clarity to summarize the part to investigate and the part to prosecute electoral offenders. They noted that establishment of a National Electoral Offences Commission would help to separate criminal elements from the civil ones in terms of electoral processes. They also said that INEC needs to work with relevant stakeholders to develop guidelines for reporting, tracking, and documenting electoral offences. The chairman and chief executive of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency's Brigadier General Mohammed Mawar has called for drug tests for politicians seeking elective public offices in the country. The NDLA board said running for public offices is a big responsibility that should not be left in the hands of persons whose hands are filled up with drugs. He made the call Wednesday in Abuja while conferring awards and honors to deserving personnel and commands of the agencies. In another story, 2 hitherto unexpected aspirant governor and minister joined the race for the All Progressive Congress presidential ticket on Tuesday. Cross River State Governor Ben Ayade announced his intention at the Aso Villa Abuja, saying that President Muhammadu Buhari had asked him to bid for the ticket. Meanwhile, The Minister of State Education, Emeka Wajuba, said his friends had raised 100 million for him to purchase the nomination and expression of interest forms. The APC began the sale of forms for political office yesterday and Tuesday. And now we'll talk security. A major security threat has been uncovered by the Department of State Service. The statement issued by the Secret Service on Tuesday said the criminal elements are planning to bomb targets and parts of the country. The latest plot, according to Security Dispatch, is targeted at worship and mobilization centers as well as critical infrastructure. Straight to Kwara, where the Lawrence Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested 34 suspected internet fraudsters in Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State and Lawrence Kwara State. A statement signed by the head media and publicity of EFCC, Wilson Wajaring, said that 30 of the suspects were arrested in Ado-Ekiti, the Ekiti State capital, while the remaining 4 were picked up in the Lawrence Kwara State. Wajaring said that the suspects apprehended at different locations in Ado-Ekiti comprised of 28 males and 2 females. According to the FCC spokesperson, the suspects were picked up based on credible intelligence obtained by the command. In other stories, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has listed 6 residential houses and 1 plaza belonging to the Mbati Farmer Intelligence Response Team leader Abakari in Maiduguri for further investigation. The 2-story shopping plaza, Assurance Plaza, located along Giwa Barracks Road in Maiduguri, has about 100 stores. 6 other residential houses within the Maiduguri new government residential area allegedly belonging to the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police have also been marked by NDLA. This is coming barely 48 hours after a suspect's drug dealer linked to tramadol worth 3 billion naira intercepted by then Kara-led RT team were arrested by operatives of the NDLA in Lagos. On crimes-related news, we'll bring you a report that operatives of the Rivers State Police Command have successfully apprehended one Promise Dogo, a 23-year-old native of Kamo community in Kana, local government area of Rivers State, who specialized in swapping automatic teller machine cards, otherwise known as ATM cards, belonging to individuals at several ATM points in Rivers State and subsequently stealing money from their accounts. The man is said to have run out of luck when an ATM gallery at the artillery axis of Port Harcourt, he successfully swapped the ATM card of the victim and withdrew the sum of 640,000, leaving the victim with nothing in his account. In a statement by Acting Police Public Relations Officer GSP Grace Irenge Koko, the frustrated victim reported the matter to operatives of the State Command, who promptly swung into action and arrested a corporate who is currently helping the police investigation and was to appear in court. The acting PRO's statement further said that the Commissioner of Police, CP Ebuka Friday, admonished the good people of Rivers State to be wary of strangers at ATM galleries and to cease from seeking assistance from them, and instead approach staffers of the banks who can easily be identified should anything goes wrong. A straight up to Bayelsa State, where suspected assassin on Tuesday evening killed a factional leader of the All Progressive Congress in Bayelsa State. Frank Oputu was a strong supporter of the suit contesting the legality of the recently conducted ward, local government and state congresses of the APC in Bayelsa High Court. An indigene of the Igbo Motoro community in southern Ijo local government area, Frank Oputu was reportedly killed in execution style around 11:50 p.m. at his Bay Bridge residence, Yenuzui Jenogwa. It was learned that his assassin allegedly shot him dead through his window, which was open to enable him to receive fresh air, as there was no public power supply in the neighborhood. We're going on a very short break. We'll be right back after now. Just stay with us. Welcome back for those just joining. This is OneTV Network Global News. Many thanks for joining. And now to more news stories. The federal government is planning to generate 21 million full-time jobs through massive investment in social infrastructure and services. The Minister of State, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, said the decision to generate the 21 million jobs was one of the outcomes of the current National Development Plan 2021 through 2025, which sought to lift 35 million people out of poverty by 2025. I was stated this at a workshop on harmonization and finalization of monitoring and evaluation framework for the implementation of the second National Program of Action held in Abuja on Tuesday. I was said this would set the stage for achieving the Buhari's administration's commitment to lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. The minister further explained that the development plan would also ensure that Nigeria unlocked its potential in all sectors of the economy. Moving on, the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning has approved implementation of ECOWAS Common External Tariff 2022-2026, which provides for a slash in import duty of pickup vehicles to 10% without payment of the controversial National Automotive Council levy. In a circular signed by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Ahmed, single and double cabin pickup vehicles under the heading of 84.04 will attract 10% import duty with no levy for both old and new vehicles of this description. The Nigerian Communications Commission has approved a new national numbering plan for the Nigerian telephone network covering fixed and wireless. The Commission approved the new plan for 296 telecoms operators to ensure the allocation of unique national numbers to each subscriber connected to the network. Going by the approval from the Commission, MTN Nigeria, Globalcom, Airtel Nigeria, Nine Mobile and others would soon begin to make available for subscribers at their respective service centers across the country new mobile phone lines for both fixed and wireless, including data alone operators for purchase. According to NCC, in a document signed by Technology Mirror, the purchase of the National Number Plan is to set up a uniform numbering scheme and the associated dialing procedures to be used in the network to allow the subscribers and operators to set up cores. Some of the numbers which are released by the NCC are 0912, 0917 for Airtel, and 0913 and Globalcom 0909. The National Number Plan will provide, more importantly, a uniform dialing procedure for the following types of cores: local cores, national, long-distance cores, international cores, cost emergency and special service independent, where the call is originating from in the country. And now to other stories. The Niger Delta activist Comrade Chuba has urged the federal government to revive refineries across the country to raise the slide in the country's economy. He also said that the inflation and hardship being experienced by Nigerians is responsible for the high level of youth involvement in illegal bankruptcy. Oh, sorry about the mix-up right there. Moving on, Comrade Chuba further said that punishing persons arrested for illegal bunkering is not enough. He urged the federal government to revive refineries to dissuade more people from going into illegal bunkering. He opined that the government can cope the menace. And now to more stories. In a related development, an environmental activist, Barrister Lady Meter, has stated that oil theft exists in different levels in the country. Barrister Lady Meter said the oil-producing communities have been neglected by the government as they do not benefit from the oil being exploited from their respective communities. In his opinion, this is responsible for increasing activities of illegal bunkering. Metis also said that fire exclusion from illegal bunkering affect the host communities mostly and raised some issues about the petroleum industry. Pastor Meeting urged the federal government to ensure that host communities benefit from oil exploitation in their communities. We're going to short break, right back after now. Just stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is OneTV Global News, and now to more stories. In We'll Talk Health right now, the Minister of Health, SAGA, has announced that Nigeria is leading globally in malaria cases and death. The Minister, who quoted the 2022 World Malaria Report, explained that Nigeria contributed to whopping 27% cases and death globally. Neri was speaking in Abuja Tuesday as Nigeria joined the rest of the world to commemorate the World Malaria Day organized by the Federal Ministry of Health in collaboration with the Rollback Malaria Partner and other stakeholders. He assured that the federal government was doing all it could towards reducing mortality attributed to malaria to less than 50 deaths per 1,000 births by 2025, urging that Nigeria was also working hard to achieve a parasite prevalence of less than 10%. There is a new wave of COVID-19 in South Africa, the Center of Epidemic Response and Innovation won Tuesday. The head of the Genomics Research Center, Tulu de Oliveira, who became famous for spotting the Beta and Omicron variant, wants South Africans to apply safety measures on Twitter. South Africa is officially the continent most affected country by COVID-19. The number of new infections in the last 24 hours is still up compared to the last few days, with 5,062 cases, 15 deaths, and 83 hospitalizations, according to the National Institute of Communicable Disease. And now to some academic stories from our news report has it that some members of the striking university-based union have confirmed the Nigerian government has imposed no work, no pay policy on the striking lecturers. Confirming this, the Zona coordinator of ASU Abuja Zone, Dr. Salahu Mohammed Lawan, said their members have been denied salaries. Recall that federal government-owned universities in the country have been closed down as a result of the strike embarked by 4 unions: the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Senior Staff Association of Nigerian University, SANU, Non-Academic Staff Union of Allied Educational Institutions, and the National Association of Academic Technologists. ASU had embarked on a 4-week one strike on February 14th, which was extended at its expiration following the alleged failure of government to address the contentious issues that led to the strike. And now to some foreign stories. The Parliament in Togo has approved a resolution last Friday asking the government to make a formal bid for membership of the Commonwealth, a group of English-speaking, mostly former British colonies. Togo is already a member of Economic Organizations of West African States, ECOWAS, and of La Francophone, a group of mostly French-speaking former colonies. The application will be formally submitted during the Commonwealth next summit in June in Rwanda. Togo recalled that Togo has been trying to join the Commonwealth since 2014. Away from that, the Central African Republic has adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, the President's office said, becoming the second country in the world to do so after El Salvador. Obed Namisio, Chief of Staff to the President Faustin Archange Touadéra, in a statement said lawmakers unanimously adopted the bill that made Bitcoin legal tender alongside the CFA francs, and President Touadéra signed the measure into law. The move legalized the use of cryptocurrencies in the country. The landlocked Central African Republic is one of the planet's poorest and most troubled nations, with an economy that is heavily dependent on mining. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday said that his country and Ukraine managed to achieve a serious breakthrough during talks in Istanbul, Turkey. But the intonation changed dramatically after allegations against Russia for crimes in the Ukrainian town of Bucha. Putin said this while speaking alongside United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who visited Moscow after almost 2 months since the start of the war in Ukraine. Recall that Putin had ordered the invasion of Ukraine because of political differences between both countries. And now to some sports. Real Madrid's forward Vinicius Jr. has hailed striker partner Karim Benzema after he scored twice in their 4-3 defeat to Manchester City Tuesday. The brace means the France forward has now scored 14 Championship League goals this season, a performance Vinicius Jr. described as great. He added, "Let's hope he can end the season winning the Liga, win the Champions League, and finish off with a Ballon d'Or." Vinicius Jr. Many thanks for watching. That's the package for tonight. But before we go, let's go through our major stories. We brought you a report that Miko has rejected APC's concessions option in Rivers State Pete's nomination form. We did mention Governor Yaya Bello has become the first to obtain APC presidential form. We also told you NCC has approved new national numbering plan for telescores. And also on the news tonight, Putin and Russia and Ukraine reached important agreements in talks. And that's the size of our package. Many thanks for watching. I am Flora G. Bye for now.